Welcome to The Explainer. You ever wonder why, with millions of students graduating every single year, companies are constantly saying they just can't find the right people? Well, today we're going to break down that exact paradox, a massive disconnect we call the skills gap crisis.
Okay, let's start with a number that should really make you pause. A NASCOM report, which the Meda Foundation analyzed, found that a staggering 80% of engineering graduates in India are basically unemployable for the modern knowledge economy. You know, jobs that need specialized technical skills. 80%. That's a huge number.
And right there, that's the paradox. We have this flood of degrees, but an absolute drought of talent that's actually ready for the job. So you've got companies struggling to hire, and you've got young people who are just struggling to get their careers started. What is going on here? All right, let's get into it.
Now, this isn't just about a couple of students who weren't prepared. What we're really looking at here is a systemic crisis of relevance. Think of it like a giant bottleneck in the economy. All this potential from millions of young people is just going to waste, and it's holding back everything from innovation to national growth.
The analysis from the Meda Foundation just puts it perfectly. The real heart of the issue is this giant disconnect. Our education system is essentially training people for a world of work that, to be blunt, is already history. It's gone.
So how in the world did this gap get so wide? Well, it really all boils down to a problem of time, or maybe more accurately, a massive difference in speed.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. You've got industries sprinting ahead, totally reinventing itself every couple of years because of things like AI and cloud computing. But at the same time, the education system is just kind of ambling along. Curriculums might get updated every 5, maybe even 10 years. So by the time a student actually graduates, what they learned is already out of date. And you see this pace gap everywhere, right? The curriculum is basically frozen in time. The exams reward how well you can memorize things, not whether you've actually mastered a skill. Theory is completely separate from practice. The result? You have graduates who have literally never used the basic tools of their own industry, like Git for coding or Tableau for data.
Okay, so let's zoom in a bit and see how this plays out in some of the fastest growing sectors out there. Because this isn't just some abstract idea. It has very, very real consequences for the jobs that are in highest demand right now.
So, take the tech world. Companies need people who can build things. People who can collaborate using tools like Git, who can work in fast, agile teams, who can deploy software on cloud platforms like AWS. But what are the universities producing? Mostly theorists who are focused on older programming languages and are graded on pen and paper exams. I mean, they're writing code by hand.
And you know what? It's pretty much the same story in data science. The industry is desperate for people who can take real, messy data and use it to tell a story, to find a business insight using tools like Python and Tableau. But for a lot of students, the most advanced tool they learn is Microsoft Excel. They only work on these perfect, clean, toy data sets. So yeah, they might know the formulas, but they have no idea how to find the actual insight.
And this quote from a senior HR manager, wow, it just says it all. Employers have been forced to stop trusting degrees because they're just not a good signal of what someone can actually do anymore. They have to create their own hands-on tests and look for actual proof, like a project portfolio on GitHub. The degree itself has lost its value.
This gap also pops up in one of the biggest growth areas for the next decade, sustainability. The analysis points out that India could create something like 3 million new green jobs by 2030 in things like renewable energy and sustainable transport. But the huge majority of graduates are entering the workforce with basically zero climate literacy.
But this isn't just about the technical stuff. You know, beyond the coding and the data, there's an even deeper problem brewing with the so-called soft skills. You know, the things that make us human and let us work together effectively.
You hear this from employers over and over again. Graduates just can't communicate well, they don't know how to work in a team, and they struggle with critical thinking to solve problems that don't have a clear answer. And in a world with so much remote work and automation, these human skills are more important than ever, yet they're almost completely ignored in schools.
So at the same time, get this, while we're churning out all these graduates for white-collar jobs that may not even exist, we're facing a massive shortage of skilled tradespeople. There's this cultural stigma against dirty hands jobs, which means we're desperate for electricians, plumbers, and solar technicians.
And this is a huge systemic problem. Vocational schools are often seen as less than. There isn't a clear career path, and the work itself is just culturally looked down upon. It's totally different from a country like Germany, for instance, where they have this respected dual education system that mixes apprenticeships with school.
Here, these barriers are really undermining professions that our economy absolutely depends on.
Okay, so how do we fix this mess? Well, the good news is it's not an impossible problem. The Meda Foundation source actually lays out a really clear, practical way forward for building a bridge between the classroom and the real world.
So, what are the solutions? The source points to 5 big reforms. First, universities have to work with employers to co-create the syllabus. That way they're actually teaching what the market needs. Second, you have to embed practical work. Make internships and real projects mandatory right from the first year. Third, build maker labs, places where students can get their hands dirty, mentored by people from the industry. Fourth, flip the classroom. Use that precious class time for problem solving together, not just listening to a lecture. And finally, reward real skills, not just exam scores. Give students academic credit for getting certified in a key technology or building something amazing.
When you boil it all down, closing this skills gap really forces us to ask a much bigger question. Is the whole point of education just to prepare someone for their first job, or is it to empower them with the creativity, the adaptability, the critical thinking skills to actually go out and build the future? Figuring out how to do both, well, that's the real challenge ahead of us.